Okay, good morning, absolutely everybody. Welcome. So this morning we're welcoming everyone from across Australia and possibly a few from globally across the world. So good evening, good afternoon if you're joining us from across the world. This morning I have the absolute pleasure to welcome the beautiful Cherise Matthews. She is an elite Pro 9 in our company. She has done exceptionally well. She is a mum of 3 beautiful boys. Is that right, all boys? And she is,
Yes.
yes, and wife, that's right. She has been a leader in the fitness industry for over 22 years, possibly a few more since I read that biography. She has multiple certifications in leading programs across America, including the Fitness Association of America, also holding a bachelor's degree. She's passionate not only about fitness, but also making that lasting impact and positive change for people's lives, which is really important. Having been an athlete herself for most of her life, whole of her life, including an accomplished triathlete, she has taken her education, knowledge, and experience to provide her clients with the best personal fitness, such as personal training and sports-specific training. So she has also trained people, Olympic athletes, as well as triathletes, stars across the world. So we are so grateful to have her here this morning to share her expertise in our incredible products. So this month we are doing this biohacking series where we have got health professionals sharing their knowledge on NRF1 and NRF2 activation. And we know that you are an absolute wealth of knowledge, Cherise. So we're so pleased to have you here. Thank you. Cherise, we might get stuck straight into
Thank you,
questions.
Julie.
We'll get stuck straight into the questions. Would you mind sharing with us quickly just a little bit about yourself, anything I haven't mentioned, how you became involved with LifeVantage?
Well, thank you so much. What an honor it is to be on this. And if this freezes a lot, sometimes it's my internet, and if it does too much, let me know and I'll jump on from my phone. Involved now for 8.5 years. One of my very best friends is Pro 10 Carrie Dickey, and a few of you may know who she is. And when she pulled into my driveway, and I'm talking, she raced into my driveway and she said, "Reese," she calls me Reese, "Reese, I've got something for you." And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, here we go again. But truly, it is a passion of both Carrie's and mine to really help people become healthier. And that I've been in that fitness industry for many years. In fact, I've lost count now, but I've had a passion for that, and truly to understand that I have seen many things come across my plate. And as a trainer, I have, of course, many other you too, with whatever reputation is on the line. And I felt that it was important for me to only refer people to the best of the best. Here I'm training the best of the best, and I don't want to put anything in their body that is not the best. So when I saw that ABC Primetime, that turned my head. But truly, when I started putting some of my clients on the products and seeing the results they were getting in recovery, number one, because we're talking about athletes, I thought, wait a minute, we could be onto something really big. And in the fitness world, when you can recover faster, then you can train harder and longer and faster. And that is what was happening. And so I thought, oh my gosh, we are onto something so huge. I'm not going to leave anybody behind. And I started sharing it with everybody I know. And then it led me into truly understanding the business of residual income, which I'd love to share in a bit as well.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much, Tracy. Yeah, look, I must say that ABC report was very impressive when I watched it, but when I fully understood oxidative stress, that's when it had me. So for those that are on this webinar that have not heard of NRF2 activation or oxidative stress, could you please give us your understanding of NRF2 activation and oxidative stress?
Absolutely. So I want you to think of oxidative stress as simply cutting open an apple and leaving it on the counter, and we all know what happens. Turns brown. That is the oxygen hitting it, and it rusts, if you will. So our bodies naturally do the same thing. We rust from the inside out. That is the natural aging process. But what if we could slow down that process? on our nerve 2 pathway with Protandim by reducing that oxidative stress in us by a minimum of 40% in the first 30 days. So I always think of the NRF2 pathway as a thermostat sitting at a perfect 72 degrees. I live in Southern California, and that's usually what our weather is. And if your body is at a perfect 72 degrees, if by any chance any of the genes that we have in our body, say for instance cancer cells or Alzheimer's or any of these genes, get upregulated or downregulated and they go out of whack, they get really cold or really hot, that is when we see disease processes. But turning that nerve 2 pathway on takes that level right back, right to that perfect temperature of 72 degrees. So I look at that nerve 2 pathway as that. And then the nerve 1 pathway is all about mitochondria. Now, my son is in 9th grade biology, and we all know that learning about the mighty mitochondria is all about that the mitochondria is what produces energy in the cell. So have you ever felt like, I just need a little bit more energy during the day? Maybe it's because your mitochondria aren't working that well. So I want you to think of it like this. If that produces the energy, and if the mitochondria isn't working as well as it should be and not firing where it should be, then when we produce new cells, mitochondria gets duplicated to the new cell. So we're taking a photocopy of the mitochondria and placing it into the new cell. Now, if that photocopy is not sharp, if it's a little dull, then we know that that next cell is going to have a dull photocopy. And then if that one doesn't work as well, then it's a duller photocopy and a duller photocopy. And all of a sudden, we have these mitochondria that are not producing the energy we want them to. And they're not at their best. What we want to do is restore that mitochondria and make a very clean copy to the next cell and a really crisp, clean copy to the next cell. And that is vitality. And that's when we feel vitality. Hence why we call it the vitality. That is nerve 1. So nerve 1 pathway produces the energy in that cell, in that mitochondria. It is the master detoxin and also that master regulator there that keeps us at 72 degrees.
That is a brilliant explanation, and thank you for also going into NRF1 there. In Australia, we've only had NRF1 for a couple of months, so it's been recently introduced. And, you know, for a long time, we have loved all the benefits of NRF2, and having that NRF1 now to make sure our mitochondria are absolutely healthy is so brilliant. It's brilliant. So just wondering, you've had NRF1 for quite a bit longer than Australians have. Did you notice a big difference when NRF1 was introduced into America? Like the difference for your clients that were perhaps already on NRF2 and then added the NRF1 in addition?
Great question. I actually did. And I will tell you with Nerve 2, what we have seen so much of in the past, you know, when we first put everybody on Nerve 2 was sleeping better, more soundly, getting a deeper sleep. Of course, that produces more energy. What was interesting with Nerve 1, what I noticed the most people coming back saying was that it was like a light switch that turned on their brain. And when you have that brain energy, that's brain clarity. And that is huge because when people think of energy, sometimes they don't think of it in the brain. But it really was like people saying, I feel younger. I feel like when I was back in, 20 years old or 32 years old or however, when they felt their best. And so we definitely saw that. But what we're also seeing, and as we find out more and more about Nerve 1 and Nerve 2 pathways, is I also want to say this, is that Nerve 1 pathway really, when it takes care of that mitochondria in the cell, and Nerve 2 is the detoxification, they work hand in hand. They work in synergy with each other. So we're talking about vital health. We're talking about health that goes down to the cellular level. And people will understand that it's not about putting a Band-Aid over your symptoms. If you really want to feel good, it's about going deep into the root cause, which is our cells, and really healing from the inside out. So that's what we've been noticing with both Nerf 1 and Nerf 2 is healing from the inside, deep from the root of the cell. And they're working synergistically together.
Ah, brilliant. Thank you, Cherise, for clearing that up. Just quickly, because you are in the health and fitness industry, no doubt you get approached by many different companies with all their different sorts of products. We know there are so many supplements that are offered to people who are training, you know, protein powders, all sorts of things. Would you recommend other products in addition to the NRF1 or NRF2, or do you feel that that's sufficient for somebody who is in that sporting industry?
Well, you know, Jillian, I don't even know if you guys have the whole vitality stack in Australia. Do you have the omegas or the probios? You don't have it yet, do you?
Well, just for everyone that's on, we are very soon launching the ProBio into Australia. So a couple more months we will have the probiotics. So I'm very excited about that. If you wanted to touch on it, please do. But yes, we don't have the omegas yet, no.
Okay, that's what I thought. I always have known, like, with what I do, it does matter what you put in your body. You know, you can't out-train the diet that goes in. And so it's so important from the inside out. So yes, I mean, ProBios, we have one of the best on the market. And I can truly say that with confidence. And even though you may not have it yet, know that it is coming. And it is the best because the gut is the second brain. And we know that it's the second brain. We're learning so much more about that. But if a healthy gut is not in place, then it's hard for everything to digest and go to where it needs to go. So when we're talking about, yes, I mean, I am a huge proponent of probiotics. And then we took it a step further with our own ProBio. And with our own ProBio, we know that, you know, it works so well that it gets down into where it needs to go, you know. So healthy microbiomes actually work. Okay, so that is huge. And then, of course, the fish oil, even if you don't have that yet, and I know that's coming, but that is huge because that's a lubricant to all the joints. And it also is brain power. And the healthy fats, talking about healthy fats in the brain, it's a whole new level of actually having neurons that actually connect with one another correctly. And so when we're talking about the gut, the brain, everything connection, that's about vitality and having the body work better. So I am not about putting a ton of different supplements in the body. What I am about is about activating the body. And that is the very, very different from what people are known, because forever and ever, it's been about supplementing your diet. And instead, we know now is that the body is so powerful, and it's a powerful machine that knows what to do when it's given the right formula. And with activating the body, we can activate the body to do what it needs to do and then produce the cells and produce everything it needs to do. So we're talking about vitality again from the inside out. So I do not give my athletes a ton of different supplements. Now, I'm not about supplementing a diet. And especially if it's a bad diet, with a really bad diet, there's nothing that you can really overcome. You've got to give the body the good stuff so that it can activate. But we know with what the products we do have, they're very unique because it's changing the mindset from supplementing to activating. Listen, I actually had a chance to meet with the formulator of the product. And I said, give it to me the simplest form you could ever. I want to know, like, I just give it to me as simply as you can. He said this: you eat a blueberry, it will fight free radicals 1-to-1 like a Dixie cup of water on a house fire. He said, but when you put Protandim in your body, it's like a light switch that turns on your survival genes, again, activating them. they already know how to fight free radicals at the rate of 1,000,000 to 1. It's like putting a fire hose in every room of that burning house. And I got to be honest with you, Jillian, I said, well, wait a second. I was talking about kale way before it got popular. And I would go into the grocery store and I'd ask the grocer for the kale, and he would say, oh yeah, you're the one with the turtles, right? And I'm like, I don't have turtles. Why? And he goes, because only 2 people ever ask for kale. You and the lady that feeds it to her turtles. And I'm like, gosh, now we know that it's super popular. We have kale salads and kale soup and kale everything, don't we? Because it's a superfood. It's a super antioxidant. But what if we could just activate our bodies to do even more than we knew that kale could do? So that's the mindset, is that I'd much rather have my athletes and my friends and family activate their body instead of supplement their body. I don't recommend a ton of supplements, but I think what we're onto here is such a huge story that everybody needs to hear about it.
Thank you so much, Cherise. Yeah, look, got to have a good diet. You can't replace a good diet. But when it comes to what we need to feed our body to give our body what we're already missing, activation all the way. Far more powerful and far safer, smaller doses. So just one last question. We're just gone on 50 minutes, but just quickly, there is a study that's focused on runners, and if you wouldn't mind just explaining to us quickly, what did they find in that study for people who do a lot of running?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because that was not an impressive study, and I'll tell you why. Because that study took marathon runners who were extremely fit, very early age. So they were in their early 20s. And they had them take, Protandim, and then they had them run a 5K. Okay. So they're not 5K runners, they're marathoners. And it didn't show that it changed much. So people go, gosh, did it not do much for the athletes? Well, you take a super fit marathoner, and you gotta train them apples to apples. Have them run the marathon after taking Protandim and see what happens. But they had them do a 5K, which is like a baby for them. So they were fit, and they stayed super fit. So I don't like to actually look at that study, because I feel like that study doesn't tell the right story. And that's the only reason why I'm glad you brought that up, because it's like, wait a minute, what happened here? And so we have to get back to, like, again, really understanding and looking at apples to apples, oranges to oranges. And I felt like that study wasn't done quite right. It's taking a super healthy baby and then giving them super healthy food and go, okay, did it change? And you go, no, this baby's still super healthy. So yeah, so we didn't see much change in that particular study, and that's why.
Okay, thank you for clearing that one up for us, because we do have a few people that jump on, they'll see the excerpt from that study. I also know that if you read further into it, it talks about those who are in a much older age group recovered that little bit faster as well. But thank you so much, Cherise, for all of that valuable information. You're an absolute wealth of knowledge. We are going to stay on just for a short Q&A. I'll just stop the recording there, but thank you again for your time.